Welcome back. Here we are with my agency colleague Christian Aichhorn. Welcome to Kuble CONF 2020, Christian.
Thank you very much, Christoph. Happy to be here. Hello, everyone.
In the previous session, we were talking about the brand's perspective on live streaming, and now we will get the agency perspective. So Christian will talk about the whole content machinery around live streams, everything that needs to be combined and aligned with a content strategy. Of course, that's something that we do every day as an agency, and we're looking forward to learning more from your expertise. Christian, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Christoph. Happy to be here. I want to talk about video production and live streaming more in the context of content marketing, and why we see this as an upcoming trend, and why we feel that this is not a temporary trend, but it will accelerate, and why there is a good reason for it. I have structured my presentation into 3 parts. The first one is a little bit statistics and numbers about the state of content marketing. Then the second one is more why live streaming and video production is accelerating, why there is more demand, and why there is a good reason for it. And the last one, the last part is then more about outlook and what are the current developments and also developments in the near future, at least what we see. So let's directly jump into it. First one, the statistics are from the Content Marketing Trend Study 2020, which I think were published only in August, so relatively new. And I took 3 questions and answers from this study. First one is what should be changed in content marketing to make content marketing more successful. And the answers here may be a little bit surprising because at least two are more from a process perspective. So more effective planning or also improved processes are more process perspectives, where we feel or where there is an indicator that there are still a lot of manual processes. We see higher budget as answer. That's common. That's always lack of budget as an answer. We see better ideas. So here that's maybe also with skill setting and with time to market, that you maybe do not have time to really think about it properly and to then adjust existing content and bring in new ideas. Which also then we see in the next one, the time to market. And last but not least, more continuity. So here, this also feels like the maturity state for a lot of companies are right at the beginning when we talk about content marketing. The second question then was about which formats will companies use more heavily in the future. And for me, that's a very interesting one, because what we can see here is on the right-hand side, you mainly see formats that are text-driven. So you have studies, text formats, white papers, microsites, with the exception of GIFs. Everything is really text-heavy and text-focused. And this is what we see that companies do a lot. Where we also see that companies start to think about different ways of presenting content. And this then goes into the direction what you can see here on the left-hand side, that it's more interactive, that you have other formats like audio, video, infographics. And for us, it was not a surprise that the top answer was videos. And what you also can see here is that the formats on the left-hand side, these formats are better usable on social. They're well usable on mobile, and most of them are more lean back mode, so which means you can consume them wherever you want. If you commute, if you are in the office, or if you're at home. And third and last one I wanted to share with you is about what are the important topics to your company. And here, when we take the first 3, first one, personalized content, that's not new. I mean, we see studies for the last 2-3 years where personalization and customization is one of the top topics. And I feel the reason why it's still here is because it's a tricky one. You cannot just implement it and then it's running. It requires resources, it requires know-how, it requires data, it requires tools, and it requires building in a way, and therefore it's still there. But of course, for content marketing, you have personalized user journeys, personalized content, so that you become more relevant for users. That's key. That's crucial. Then second one, marketing automation. We see that this increased over the last couple of years. And when we look back at the previous one, where we had as answers more effective planning or improved processes, here marketing automation can play an important role, where it takes away some basic work from content marketeers, so that they can focus on other things and get more out of their time, so to say. I also think that content marketing will further increase in the next couple of years, and we will see this also then in the next slide when we talk about client experiences. The third one here, live streaming, that was a little bit surprising, to be honest. I mean, we see that the video is heavily accelerating, and I would have expected live videos here maybe on position 5 or 6, but I feel position 3 here maybe probably the Corona crisis is responsible for this acceleration, and that this is even number 3. But the slide before and also the slide here, you can see that video and live video is a topic for companies, and I will then talk more about that. But before, we also would like to share some experiences we have with our clients and our clients' relationships, and what we feel what improved there and what is good, and also where there are still challenges. And on the positive side, we see that content marketing gets more attention. We see that there is more budget, there is better staffing. We see also that it's not just one team anymore that's responsible for content marketing, but there are various teams who contribute for content planning or also for content production. So it's a effort across teams. And these teams then do not only produce written content anymore, they start to include stats, to include images, so that the content is better digestible in a way. Digestible also better through customization and adjustment of content, so that they fit better to the different channels and to the different formats that are used. So times are over where you just produced one asset, and then that's one-to-one shared across various platforms and channels. But meanwhile, partly even on the set, you consider the different channel where it then should be distributed and hosted, and then you produce this content piece in multiple formats, so that it fits perfectly to wherever the user consumes it. And the last one that we also see, especially on the B2B side, is that that content marketing is also feeding the lead generation process. So it's not it's substituting lead generation, but it has a role in the lead generation process, and it helps in the lead generation process. Then on the other side, where do we see challenges? So we still see that some clients are very text focused, and they're long text formats, which are hosted on their website or their hub, content hub, or on a blog. But that also means that users are pulled to the website, which needs a lot of energy and time. And here we see that it would be more beneficial to have this mixed push and pull approach, where you also push your content to the user, and not only pull the content to your website or content hub. Then what we also see is that there is a lack of snack content, meaning that from your master content piece, from your long format content piece, that you slice and dice this content and make small content, snack content pieces that you then can share on social media, and which are also well consumable on mobile devices. Next point is manual processes. We already had that. So here the solution is marketing automation and a more efficient use of tools. And what we also see is that this topic is already on the roadmap, on the agenda of our clients. But this takes time. There is assessment necessary. There is also budget commitment necessary. So not for all clients, this is already a topic, or they're already ready to fund it and to implement it. Then thought leaders, a very important topic when it comes to content. And here we have also a similar experience that this is on the roadmap and agenda of a lot of clients already. Some started pilots already with a handful of thought leaders to gain some experience. But we haven't seen yet a lot of clients who really do this full-fledged, where you have 50, 100 of thought leaders who do this on an ongoing basis already for 1 or 2 years. But we feel that that's coming, but this needs some time, and especially it needs time for heavily regulated industries. And the last one, an obvious one, also when you look at the statistics before and what we heard before, a lack of animations, video, and live streams. Here we see that clients start testing with it, experimenting with it, gaining some first experience. And we also see that there is more demand. So we only in the last couple of weeks, we had various requests, how we can help our clients in these topics. Good, that was the first part. The second part then is more about the reasons why video production and live streaming, from our perspective, is here to stay and will further grow. And one of the most important reasons is because it feeds the content marketing. So with the live stream itself, but not only with the live stream itself, there are various content elements that you can build around, be it that you announce the live stream, that you do teasers, that you introduce the speakers, that you do a short interview or a short talk with the moderator, for example. You can do polls. You can already allow questions before. So you have an announcement phase where you can produce content. You have the live stream then itself. After the live stream, you can offer the recording, the replay on your website, on other channels. You can offer this for everyone for free. You can put it behind a form or registration. You can do behind the scenes content pieces. You can slice and dice it so that you have snack content pieces. And ideally, live streams are not a one-off element, but rather where you come up with a series. For example, where you have a speaker or maybe a thought leader that is focused on a specific topic or some topic streams, and then you have on a regular basis, be it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, where this person then talks about this content category, and this then feeds your content marketing so that you really get a lot of content, but not only from a quantitative perspective, but also from a qualitative perspective. The next one is through the owned channels, and here we are not talking about not only talking about website and blog. You can make it easily findable and accessible. And here again, what I mentioned before, ideally you do a mixed pull and push approach, where your website, your blog, your content hub acts as spaces where your live stream and then the replay is hosted. And with that, you pull the users to your website. You can then also show your services, in-depth content, so you can relate it to your other content pieces or services. But additionally, you can push the content to the user in social media, where platforms offer even live streaming functionality, or where you then can push out the snack content to your followers organically. If your followers engage with the content, then you have the earned effect that also their followers potentially could see it. And if that's not enough, or you want to have more, you can also push it with paid social activities, where you then target very specific audiences you want to reach. So that's a very effective channel and instrument to be findable and accessible. But of course, also then YouTube as biggest video hosting platform and second biggest search engine in the world, to upload your videos there. And ideally also SEO optimize your videos so that they can be easily found on YouTube, but that they also can easily be found via the search engines for Google, like Google, for example. Then the next one is we see that live stream has an immediate effect and gets immediate reach, but it's also here to stay. When you upload it to your website, to your content hub, to your blog or to YouTube, it stays there. Users can consume it also later. And you then generate reach on an ongoing basis. And with this building of like a content library, you then also can relate the different content pieces. And when the user dives in and consumes the first content, you have a good chance that additional content pieces in the same topic, in a related topic, in a different topic, then get consumed. Then we already talked about thought leaders. So videos and live streams are very good instruments for thought leaders, and that's twofold. First, typically thought leaders, they have a content library they can access, and from where they can leverage content and push out content. This content library is split into company content, own content from the thought leader, and third-party content. But all of these three categories, what they have in common is that still it's very text-based, maybe text and image, and a lot of content is then just teasing the content and linking the user then to a landing destination. And here adding video and live streams to this content mix, so to say, would work well and would also make the credibility and the quality of the content for this thought leader better or improve it. But the second component, and I think that's also something where we see more and more interest, is that the thought leaders themselves become the host or the star or the interviewer or however you want to call it of the live stream. So if you have a thought leader that has a lot of knowledge and experience in a specific topic, then this thought leader could start the live streaming series around this specific topic, or maybe a bigger topic group, and then do this live stream on a regularly basis and use the live stream, the replay, the snack content, then for the thought leadership. And by doing that, again, building more credibility for his field of expertise. And also building community, and therefore also building and increasing reach. Thought leaders normally are not perfect actors or professional actors. Neither are we. And we also heard in the first speech from Julian Hosp this morning that he does not try to be perfect. That's not the aim of live streaming. That's not the aim of social web. So that's not the expectation of the users, but to be yourself, to be authentic, and to have high quality content, and to look at this content from different angles and bring value to the user. And here, clearly authenticity beats high resolution videos and perfect videos. And so really try to be yourself. And this then also helps to increase engagement. Then more on a kind of setup and platform perspective, we see that the live streams offer a lot of flexibility. You can do one-to-one communication in an interview form, for example. This can be done in the same room, or where one speaker, the interviewer is in the room, the speaker is remote, or both are remote. Then you can do one-to-many, where you have one speaker, like a typical event setup, and this person speaks a one-way direction to an audience, to a big audience. the person in the room, audience in the room, person in the room, audience remotely, or both remotely, so very flexibly as well. Additionally, you could change the format flexibly to one to many to one, where the audience then also can ask questions, can participate in a poll, in a survey, and things like that. And the third category, many to many. So this is a typical roundtable or discussion situation where various people talk about a topic. And again, they can be in the room, all in the same room, can be split, all can be there remotely. So the point here is depending on the need, depending on the circumstances, you really can have no physical borders and can have a very flexible setup. Additionally, it opens the screen to speakers that you wouldn't have normally, because maybe they are at the other side of the world and they would not travel to your site, or you wouldn't even think about inviting them. And now with live streaming, and that's also the case we have today. We had a speaker from Singapore, we had a speaker from South Africa, some speakers here from Zurich, and then ex-speakers then sit in the US. So we really cover a global speaker audience, which is great value for us and hopefully also for the audience. The next one, and I already talked about flexibility. So there is different degree of interactivity that you can use for your live streams and video production. And this can be before you do the live stream. So, for example, if you tease it with a video, you can via social media do a poll. You can already allow the users to ask questions that the moderator collects and then asks in the session. During the live stream, again, polls, you allow questions. You can offer links to documents, for example. And after the live stream, you can offer the live stream itself, the replay. You can offer deep dive documents. So you can do a survey to also get feedback, how it was, what you could improve. And these things, I would say, are rather the tip of the iceberg. So we see that there is more activity in further developing the live stream and video conference platforms with additional features, which then will also increase the interactivity and flexibility we will have in the future with live streaming. And a very important point is also that live streaming not every live stream is quick, flexible, and low cost. I mean, you can also do it with high resolution in an event setup as you used to, but you don't have to. It's really flexible here as well. You can have a quick setup. You can be flexible. You can integrate a lot of flexibility, and you can do it low cost or in a cost that every budget can afford. And why is that? Because first, with the different software as a service suppliers in live streaming and video conferencing, you have different options. And so far, there is no platform or no supplier that is the perfect platform. So we still see that we need to somehow combine them. And this also depends on the need and the circumstances and the requirements of the clients or what we want to do. But with this combination and also with a flexible studio setup that you can quickly change depending on the need, you offer a studio platform and you offer a very flexible live streaming experience. And the combination of these two then helps to really have this quick, flexible, and low-cost setup. But what we also see here is it's more than just the production or the streaming itself. Meanwhile, and through these options, you also have a concept phase where you need to sit together and discuss. Okay, what should the outcome be? What is the audience? What speakers do you have? And then you can build this personalized live streaming setup and experience for your needs, I would say. With that, I want to come to the last part, and that is what's next. And what's next, I don't necessarily mean what's in the future, but also what we see is currently developed and maybe not so much used yet. And on the company side, we see that video production and live streaming is becoming a fundamental part of content marketing and content strategies. That's also underlined by the trend survey outcome. So this increases, but as mentioned before, it does not only increase that you produce something, you really have an ecosystem around it with the concept phase, then you have the promotion phase, you then have the live streaming itself, you then have post-production, you have the distribution phase. And I think that's not the end. I think this will further grow and further develop. For example, where you then could also have more statistics, more data, where you maybe can add then lead generation activities, where you can add payments and other functionality. So I would say we are rather at the first or second step of a maturity stage, and there will be more. When looking on the events and conference side, here currently we see it more than a substitute for events and conferences based on the current situation and the current crisis. But we are convinced that after the crisis, we will not come back to the old normal. There will be a new normal where live streaming and video will be complementary to support and to enrich events and conferences. And where there will be kind of interplay of these offline and online formats. And on the technology and supplier side, here we see that they use this growth they faced over the last couple of months. I mean, when you look at Zoom, they really went through the roof since Corona started. And they use this now to further develop their platforms, the feature, to become full platform offerings. Because as mentioned before, there is no single platform that covers all. And so you need to combine the platforms depending on your need. But there is a trend that these platforms add different features and functionality to really offer a full event platform. And when we talk about additional features, so that you get a little bit idea what could be additional features, for example, payments. If you have a fundraising activity or you have e-commerce activity, you can include a payment like PayPal or maybe crypto into your live stream technology where people then can pay immediately and directly. You could add things like collaboration, where you can within the tool collaborate on documents or whatsoever. So the speaker with the audience or with other speakers. You could also add things like breakout sessions, so that, for example, a host really sees everything and can then switch around the different rooms. But users then sit in one breakout session and only see this specific room. I mean, that's already some suppliers offer this already, but we think features like this will accelerate, will be more used, and there will be additional features like these. And last but not least, more on an agency side. So what do we see? Basically, I can echo the statistics we saw before. So we see that there is more appetite, there is more need. We are still more, for a lot of clients, more in the experimental phase. But I think this will accelerate. I think we will see a lot of live streaming combined with offline going in the future. And I think we will see a lot of these additional features which then are used so that you really have platforms that you can use even more flexibly and that you can use with all kind of budgets. Yeah, and with that, I want to thank you for your attention. And in case there are questions, I'm still here for a couple of minutes.
Yes, of course, there are questions. Many thanks already now for your insights, Christian. And you, in one of your last sentences, you mentioned the budget, and that's actually one of the questions from Daniel. He would like to know whether, so small and medium companies with smaller budgets, what's your advice to create engaging live streaming content with these types of budgets?
Yeah, I mean, what we see here is good starting point. So good angle is either that you really have a specialist in a field, a thought leader, which can be used as kind of starting point that you get into this topic. And this person maybe already wrote about or is writing about the topic. And you now just extend it to an additional medium so that this user is streamed, is filmed, and that you produce video content with this thought leader. And then we also feel that it's, learning by doing. You don't need to be perfect from the very beginning. You need to be authentic, and what you say and your content needs to have value for your audience. And then it's a practice where, like in sports, you become better with every live stream you do. With every post production, will become better, and you will also then, if you get feedback from your audience or ask feedback for your audience, that's additional angle how you can improve. So here we feel that you should go a pragmatic approach, just start doing it, and then improve and accelerate on the go.
There was one more question about differences between companies and company sizes, or in this case, about industries. And this question is about the differences between B2B and B2C live streaming. What do you observe from this perspective?
Yeah, that's a good one. It's an interesting one. So, I mean, B2C, here we see often broader audiences where you then quickly come up with different ideas, different topics that you play and that you then play across various channels. And by that, you generate a lot of reach. But the side effect could also be that you do not only reach the audience you want to reach. And that then also maybe the engagement levels are lower compared to the B2B part. With B2B, on the other side, we see that this is very niche audience. And very often it doesn't make sense for them to go broad because then they have a wastage of 98, 99%. So the question for them is, how can we reach our niche audience and how can we better serve them? And also, how can we maybe differentiate from our competitors, where everyone already operates with white papers, with research papers, with webinars now in the last couple of months. And so this is used a little bit inflationary, I would say. And so the live streaming and video production for B2B can be, at this stage at least, a little bit a differentiator. And I also think that in the B2B space, often it's a little bit more about the thought leadership and also product, where you can communicate product advantages or demonstrate product advantages through a live stream or through a video production. And this can also be done on an ongoing basis. And then this live stream and video can then, in a next step, for example, used for your account-based marketing strategies, where you tailor this content to a very specific audience.
Mm-hmm. In your last answer, you mentioned that it's important to practice. Peter then asked how long we have been practicing for this conference today. As mentioned this morning in the introduction, we practiced since March, April, when we started experimenting with live streaming. So that's probably also a time period that other companies need to consider too. Another question is regarding...
Christoph, maybe here the practicing is not just in front of the camera, but the practicing is also behind the scenes with the different technologies that are available that you can embed the presentation and the video and speak remotely. So there are a lot of different combinations and functionalities out there, and that you combine it and bring it at the right situation at the right moment to the point where that's also something you need to practice and learn.
Yes, exactly. What we can see here is really just the output. And I think we've seen nicely also on your slides that there's a lot, this content machine doesn't just run by itself. You mentioned one specific content type, snack content. Adi would like to know what is snack content?
Yeah, for example, take this conference today. From the speeches, which are the speech itself, maybe half an hour, and then Q&A, maybe 15 minutes. You can offer the full replay and place this on the website, on YouTube or wherever. But you can also then, for example, cut it that you have just the Q&A and just the speaking part of it. Most of the speakers have different chapters, and when you feel okay, that's super interesting, this one specific chapter, and that's anyway something we recently discussed or what was a topic for us, then you can just cut out this specific scene, and this is then maybe just 2 or 3 minutes, and in the post-production then make a snack content piece, which you again could host on your website or on YouTube, but very often these snack content pieces then are used for social media that you pack into a post, and where you then can also feed your community and where you have a lot of content then for your timeline.
One more thing that you mentioned and described is an approach to, and that's a question from Alain about different time zones. So here in our conference, we can bring in people from different time zones. What's your advice with regards to managing such a setup?
Ideally, people in Asia speak in our morning and people in the US speak in our afternoon. That's more convenient for them, obviously. But overall, I think it's important. The preparation is important, that you do briefing calls before, that everyone knows what's to be expected, what's coming. We also operated with a WhatsApp group. We did briefing calls before where we also discussed, what's coming when. We also partly flexibly asking do you have slides, do you have a video, do you also prefer more discussion situation? So these things need to be considered so that speakers feel comfortable, but per se that has nothing to do with time zones. That's in general the setup, I would say. For the time zones, I think it's important that the communication before, during and afterwards, that this is run smoothly. Especially because Singapore, meanwhile, is already in the afternoon. US just got up, and this could cause some complications, if you like.
Absolutely. Coming back to production and preparation, there's one more question from Peter about how to start. So, practicing sounds like a big task. What exactly needs to be practiced and to be prepared?
Well, I think first of all, you need to have something to talk about. It's not about talking; it's about the content you have and how valuable this content is. And there you need to prepare. You need to have a script, a storyline. You need to have messages that you want to communicate to your audience. And you need to be sure that the audience is interested in it, and this brings value to the audience. And when you have such a script or storyline, you then can first practice it in front of the camera. Then you maybe will see that's too long or that's too complicated, and I should have shorter sentences, or maybe I should restructure it. So this is something that can be practiced, but it's always very helpful if you have a concrete plan, a concrete script, a concrete storyline and idea what you want to communicate. Then the practicing itself is, I would say, in front of the camera also, that there's the speed of your words or your sentences, your body language. These are all things that maybe at the very beginning where you don't feel very comfortable in this studio situation, and maybe some people are at the back behind the scenes. So this, I think, is something where you need to get used to a little bit so that you're then more relaxed and then things are coming more smoothly, more easily. I mean, then maybe you don't fully stick to the script, but you do this more flexibly. Maybe you don't even have a full script, but just keywords so that you have the storyline in mind. And that's then the practicing part. But I mean, also important is then what do you want to achieve overall? So this is more the tactical part, the doing. You clearly you need to have a strategy. What should be the outcome? What's the KPI? What's the objective? How can this support your content marketing? How can this support your lead generation? And then from the live stream itself, what should be the setup? What should the audience be? What's expected from the audience? What's the degree of interactivity? What do we then do with the data and the feedback we get? How can we reuse it? How can we further then improve? So these questions should also be asked.
Absolutely. Speaking of the setup, there was a question about how much space is needed. So can you do a live stream in a small room, just in your office, maybe?
Well, I think that depends a little bit on the setup. If you're alone, I mean, look at Julian this morning. He was sitting in his on his desk in his office in his chair. So here just 10 square meters are necessary. And if you have a good software and a good hardware, then this can be done easily from your desk. But if you have an interview situation or more a kind of event conference situation, then you will need a little bit more space because there is then also more technical support that's needed, which needs space. And you need also space for the speaker, for the host. How big is our studio? Maybe 50, 100 square meters. And I think this is sufficient for a lot of cases and setups. And important there is, as mentioned before, that you really can build it flexibly with the background, with the walls, with the chairs and things like that, that you can easily adjust to a setup that another client requires.
Yeah, just to give you an impression of the size, maybe we can show again the behind the scenes camera that shows you exactly what Christian just mentioned, the whole setup around me in this room. There was one more question regarding channels, and you showed a slide with a couple of logos. And regarding channels, one of our viewers would like to know whether it makes sense to live stream on various channels at the same time.
Well, it can be that it depends a little bit on the audience. I mean, if you have a broad audience and where you know they are spread across various channels and are used to and expect to consume their video and live streaming content on these channels, then yes. But if you have a very specific audience in mind, then the specific audience normally is mainly on LinkedIn, maybe on Twitter, It's not so much about maximizing reach. It's more about reaching the right target audience. And therefore, I would say technically it's doable, but you need to ask yourself if it really makes sense. Do you find and get your audience, and also are you then able to engage your audience when you spread this across various channels? And the answer can be yes, but the answer can also be no.
Speaking of audiences, now I think we saw the agency perspective regarding production, the brand's perspective regarding how the whole production is defined and executed. Now, of course, in the end, we need to find users who enjoy watching our live streams. Now, you privately, what types of live streams do you enjoy watching also for a longer period of time?
Well, I personally enjoy all content, live streaming video content about our digital industry, marketing industry, because in digital, the further development, it's such a dynamic field where there are a lot of different trends. It's so fragmented, and here live stream and videos are really, really good way to keep up to speed. Also, as mentioned before, you can, in a lean back mode, consume this content. I mean, I commute in total an hour a day, or even a little bit more, and I can use this time through live streams and videos to inform myself and stay up to date. That's for this type of content. I really like blockchain content, so I also follow Julian Hott, for example, and consume a lot of content he produces. Here I also feel that keeps me up to date, and so that I can stay informed. And last but not least, sports. Sports is also a super use case where you can watch, let's say, the French Open final that just recently took place. And you can do this live, or if you missed it, then you can also watch a replay or parts of it. That's really cool. I mean, especially when you compare it to years ago, where if you sat before the TV, you were lucky. If you missed it, you missed it. And maybe you had your recorder with the tape where you recorded it. But these times are over, and that's good.
And what about wine tastings?
That's also a very good use case. I mean, we will have one afterwards, and I'm really looking forward to it. For the wine tasting, what I personally really appreciate is normally when I do a wine tasting and I go to a site, I need to do it alone. Either myself needs to stay at home with the kids or my wife, so only one of us can do it, or we have a babysitter, but that costs money. And if you do a live stream, you can do it at home, and both of us can do it. That's the first thing. The second thing is live streaming. Then there you can also invite the winemaker, for example, remotely, who then can tell about his wine, about the wine region. And this gives you, it's always a difference if you get to know the winemaker, and the winemaker speaks with a lot of passion about his wine. And you have then this person in your live stream. Additionally, you can also do a survey. When people taste the wine, you can add a survey, and no matter if it's a professional survey or just an Excel one, people can give their opinion, and then you can immediately then show in the live stream how people rated the wine and what was good and what was not good. So here, I'm a big fan of virtual wine tastings. First, from a community perspective, meaning that more people can do it, but also these additional features that a wine tasting offers, and then makes it a different experience.
Exactly, and you mentioned it already. We will have a wine tasting session here in our studio, live on air in 2 hours. For now, many thanks for your great insights in this session, Christian.
Thank you.
And after a short break, we will be back with our next speaker.